different stuff, where you can actually iterate a lot and do agile methods for developing. Where iterate, develop. So, I mean, in your sense, it makes more sense for going to the as a custom code developer rather than as a WordPress or Joomla. So it was not a question, but a comment.
Two things about it. I mean, you should not build until you have the UI specs. So iterate on your coding. Don't iterate on the colors of the buttons or the layout of the screens, that left main right. If you're moving your UI around, that means you're not following the process.
What I'm saying is, once you have that wireframe and the visual aspects done, and you are with your development team, I see a great fight going on between those two, because WordPress has a different way of coding their themes and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And if you put in the visual elements and say, okay, I don't want this element to be here and this element to be here,
that discussion should not happen during development. It should happen before development. So when I'm giving the comps to developers and they're saying this will not work in WordPress because of such and such, I say, okay, we'll change it.
Okay.
So that it suits you. And then iterations happen because they've not followed the design properly. When the font says, Helvetica 11 font size and they're using Arial 12, then that is a distinction.
Or you do user testing and you realize that you do A/B testing and you realize that it's not working. But how many of us do A/B testing anyway?
Very rarely.
Okay, going back to Gautam's question. In different contexts, so remember questions. in different contexts, for different functions, enterprise, consumer, all those, does your design philosophy change? This is also what Karthik and Ankur were asking. Let me tell you where they're coming from. So there's this point of view which we are working on, and it's not fully articulated, but we're working on this. And the point of view is that you have information architecture, where the objective is to get people to find information easily, to search for information, discover information easily. Yeah. And if you're working in that paradigm, then you design websites in a certain way. Yeah. Then there's a second kind of website, which are portals which are built on advertising, where the objective is not to get people to find information, but the objective is to get people to spend more time on the website, page views, not even time on the website, page views, and you design differently. Then there's the e-commerce website, where the objective is to get people to click through a funnel onto the end of the shopping cart, or say page.
Maximize revenue, right.
So you persuade people to click through the shopping funnel and buy stuff. There's a different philosophy there. One of the things we've been trying to articulate, and we're only now getting there, is to say that there's a different way to design communities, online communities, where the objective is not to help people discover information. The objective is not to maximize page views. The objective is not to take people through a shopping funnel and get conversion rates up. But the objective is to help people connect with each other. So the engagement is not with the website, but the engagement is with other people. Do you think in these different contexts, how you design changes?
Don't see the thing. It's a little academic discussion for me. To me, I think design philosophy is the same. I mean, like design styles, I like so and so. Because ultimately, what is your objective? Context. So what you're describing with different tasks. So from my point of view is that, okay, there is so you have certain objectives you're designing for, and you want the consumer to behave in a certain way, whatever the product may be. If you want to behave a certain way, that is the task of the users. So you design around that task. The task is, you want to quickly purchase an item on an e-commerce site. Then I have to have a big, have these products, big add to shopping cart and one-click checkout kind of a functionality, and you're done. Other is to get more people involved so that you're building a larger social network for yourself. Then I said, Gaurav just added these 50 people you might be interested in. So, and how to make it easier to add those people in. Click on them, right click or something. So to me, I think it's the context which is changing, goals are changing. Why should your design philosophy change? Ultimately, you're building something to fulfill, so that's the design problem. You want to solve that problem. So you're you're framing the problem in a different way. Therefore, your solution will be different. But your philosophy you're following is sort of the same. At least what my sense is.
Okay. So, I think we have 5 minutes more, and I think we can take one question before Nishant is here.
So when you asked a question about, do you see a sense working with in-house developers? Do you see a dichotomy where designers are more of giving an intangible service and developers are probably giving a commoditized offering which is very tangible? So that's why it clashes, and that's why it's not feasible to have a design-led development firm, and development is more, it's easier to.
I never thought of it that way, but it sort of makes sense. So the idea is to get developers get involved in design, and designers start developing, because so there's two ways. If you look at it both ways, development is a very fulfilling kind of an activity, because you're creating something which is being used. It's life. Designers are not creating in that sense of a word. So you can say designers are like architects. So you're designing and you're giving it to somebody who's actually building it. So you're not actually, you're having that hands-on kind of experience which really is very fulfilling. So so in my team...
That differs from person to person.
I guess so. I mean, I'm sure.
Which is why some people are
there's a personal bias
thinkers
to
and
it.
some people are builders.
Yeah, there is still, I'm better thinking than building myself. But the idea is that I should build. Because if you want to work in a team, you have to understand what the other person is going through. That is the only way it's going to work. So I encourage a lot of my designers to actually build style sheets, to actually build prototypes, not code in C++ or something, but at least start getting that idea of it and appreciate what developers are doing. And the developers, in turn, actually, sometimes I let them run. In the US, we have a couple of front-end developers. They actually run the tests actively. So get them to talk to users, take them along your user interviews, and they get a sense of what the designers are doing. So, but they're still holding on to their primary activity. But doesn't mean that they can't do other things. Have to 37 Signals, they were designers, but they build all these applications themselves.
Nishant, okay. For people who want to understand more about user interaction design, user-centric design, there are at least 5 people here you want to understand more about that, including myself. So there's the Alan Cooper book there are the Alan Cooper books on design.
Okay.
Yeah.